We all face storms in life, right? But what's the difference between just surviving them and truly navigating them with grace? Well, today, we're going to explore a really powerful way to think about emotional resilience, all inspired by the wisdom of Lady Blay. So let's dive in.
We all face these storms. Life has a way of throwing challenges at us that can feel, well, completely overwhelming. This journey we're on isn't about trying to avoid those storms, but learning how to navigate them with a real sense of stability and grace.
And that word, grace, that's the key here. This isn't about building some kind of unbreakable fortress to keep out the pain. It's about flexibility, it's about self-compassion, and it's about moving through the hard times without letting them completely shatter your core. That idea is going to be our guide.
Okay, so where do we even start? We start inside. The very first step, the absolute foundation of building resilience, is just giving ourselves the permission to feel what we're feeling. And this is the important part, without any judgment.
First step, this first pearl of wisdom is so beautifully simple. Feel, don't freeze. Think about it. When we're hit with a challenge, our first instinct is often to tense up, to build a wall. But that just ends up trapping the emotion inside. The key is to let it flow through you, to acknowledge it without letting it paralyze you.
And this really reframes what we think strength even is. We're so often taught that strength means just pretending you're fine, bottling everything up. But true strength, that's the ability to hold a difficult feeling, like sadness or fear, and still take that next step. It's all about being honest with yourself, not putting on a performance for others.
All right, on to the second pearl.
This second pearl really builds on that idea of self-compassion, and it pushes back against our crazy, always-on culture. It says, you are allowed to pause. Rest is not weakness, it's recovery. Just think of it like this. Even the most powerful ocean waves have to pull back to gather their strength. Your pause, that's you gathering your strength. So once we've allowed ourselves to feel and to rest, the power starts to shift. This next stage is all about moving from a passive state to becoming the active architect of your inner world. It's about taking control of the narrative. So the third pearl, and this third pearl gives us an incredible tool to do just that. Choose perspective over panic. When a crisis hits, our minds can just spiral out of control. It's a totally primal reaction. But we do have a choice. We can consciously shift from that reactive state to a more reflective one, and it all comes down to the questions we ask ourselves. And this is the crucial switch. Asking why me, well, that's a victim's question. It just drains your energy and leaves you feeling powerless. But asking what can this teach me, that reframes the entire situation. It turns a roadblock into a classroom, and it empowers you to find meaning and growth in it. This theme of protecting your mind is so important, it's expanded on in a couple more pearls. The fourth one asks us to guard your inner peace like sacred ground, to actively filter out the noise and negativity that just fuels panic. And then the seventh one reminds us to whisper hope daily. That internal monologue you have is incredibly powerful. Using it to speak kindness to yourself, even when your voice shakes, is a profound act of healing. So now that we've worked on our internal world, the journey starts to move outward. Resilience isn't built in a vacuum, It's often fortified through our connections with other people. Which brings us to number 5. This brings us to the fifth pearl. Lean, don't isolate. When we're hurting, it's so tempting to just pull away from everyone. But true resilience means having the courage to know when your own light is getting a little dim and to actually reach out. Remember, leaning on others isn't a burden. It's a bridge.
And now for number 6. This next pearl takes our experience one step further. It's like a form of alchemy. Turn pain into purpose. This is all about transforming your own struggles into a source of guidance for someone else. Your scar doesn't just have to be a mark of pain. It can become a map for another person who's trying to find their way. So how do we actually do that? Well, it's kind of like a two-step process. First, you have to acknowledge your own journey, the healing, the lessons, all of it. And then, when you're ready, you share that story. Not for pity, but to uplift, to show someone else that they're not alone and that there is a way through. And all of this brings us to the final overarching philosophy that really ties all of these pearls together. It's the art of not just surviving, but of rebuilding. Let's just sit with that for a moment. It completely reframes the goal. It's not about avoiding the breaks. They're going to happen. The real art, the true beauty, lies in the choices you make afterward.
It's in the way you piece yourself back together, maybe stronger and more beautiful than before. So the final question isn't if you'll face challenges, but when. And when that moment comes, how will you choose to rebuild? Thank you for watching.